What up, everybody? We back again with another episode of the Webheads. I'm one of your hosts, DeMarco, sitting here along with my other half, my brother.
Yeah. It's me, Steven. What's up? What the hell's up, y'all? We are back. This week we're with, I don't even know what to call this story. I don't know if it's an X-Men story. Is it a Fantastic Four story? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll figure that out before I start. Maybe we won't.
We'll let you decide,
Yeah.
listeners.
On the cover, I'm pretty sure it just says a story. But yeah, let's get this whole thing started.
Hello.
So, what have you been up to? What's new?
Well, last week was Comic Con stuff, and what if nothing really. I'm this week a lot of uh, number one comics are coming out for Marvel, so which means a lot of new stories coming up. So a couple of the ones that I picked up were Ant-Man number one. So it's a 4-part story. It says I haven't started it, but it says it's a flashback to the early days of Hank Pym's career as the astonishing Ant-Man. In the first issue, it's date night for Hank and his girlfriend Janet, but nobody told that to Ant-Man's enemies.
It's pesky enemies.
Yeah,
And it's an airplane flying over us, ignoring the sound.
yeah. Don't pay attention to that asshole. We told him we were recording today. Still decided to fly right over us. Another story I'm reading is Captain America: Symbol of Truth. That's the Sam Wilson one. I'm reading both, the Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson ones. But the Sam Wilson one's pretty good.
Okay.
The first issue had what's the other guy who plays Falcon, the new guy.
Fuck, what is that guy's name?
Can't remember.
I forget.
It's a Mexican cat too. That's another guy that nobody ever talks about in the MCU either.
I mean, he's only been in
2 episodes.
yeah, and he really only got intel. Like,
True. Let me see what that guy's name is. Forget it. We'll come back to it. But yeah, so Sam Wilson's Captain America is usually teamed up with this new Falcon in the story. He's already teamed up with Deadpool in one of the issues, which was kind of cool. Another number one this week was Gambit number one. I don't know what the hell this one's about, honestly. Haven't touched it. I usually just kind of go through, and if some number ones come out and they look interesting, I go for it.
I mean, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Just
If you're trying to get into the comics or like reading actual comic books, I mean, you can start with some of our episodes if you wanted to, but if not, just pick a character. And if you're going through Marvel Unlimited, just pick a character and then find a story.
Yeah.
If you're going to the comic book store, you see some number ones, just grab the number one.
I will say sometimes it can be intimidating
Yeah.
because you'll be reading something and it'll be like, oh, so and so when this happened, and
They'll
then
reference some things from before.
and then you feel like, oh man, now I have to go back and read all that and this and that. You don't have to. It's really your preference.
No. And it does seem like they tried their best to, like, on some of the stories, they tried their best to give you as much information so you don't have to go back to read a whole 40 books so you can get this whole part. But I will not say that that's the case always, because it's not. That what was that reading? I forgot what I was reading recently, but uh, I had no clue what was going on. And when I looked it up, it said like I looked up what to read before so and so, and it gave me like a whole series to read
Yeah.
before. And it was like this is a must read, so I understand what's going on here.
Yeah, I'm currently reading one of the more recent Miles Morales runs,
Mm,
and without going into too much spoilers, like there's an alternate version of Miles. They're talking about Miles being from a different universe. Like if you guys jumped into that and you had no idea of Miles Morales or anything prior,
yeah.
that would be kind of confusing because then that would make you want to go back, which I would say do
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of it's actually you can kind of get both of that information from two limited series. Um, so it isn't too much reading you would have to do prior,
Yeah.
and they're both good books. So I would say do it for in that case. But I mean, you guys do what you want to do, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's one I read too. It was Black Panther. It was a recent one by Ta-Nehisi Coates,
Mm,
and they were like in space.
yeah,
I was dumbass confused reading that. I was like, how did like? I mean, they kind of go into explaining it more and more through the story, so you don't have to really go back. And I don't know if there was a previous story to that led to it. Um, that was one I didn't even bother to check. Just kept reading it all the way through. Um, but it wasn't a bad story. I so I started on our website a little section for recommendations, um, and I have 3 on there so far. I think the Death of Doctor Strange, maybe 4. Um, the Fantastic Four life story, that was really good, and the Spider-Man life story. And I can't remember if there was another one or not, but those are the 3 I've gotten so far, or that I've put up so far. That Black Panther one wasn't for me really. Did I read all 26 or issues of it? Yes. But like I said before, I am a completionist to the end, so I'm gonna finish it.
what's on my currently reading list? Let's see. Yeah, Miles Morales, Spider Man. Started reading Dark Ages. That was a crossover from I think late last year.
Okay.
That one's pretty cool. It's an alternate universe take. Um, forgot what happens exactly, but like there's an EMP wave that goes across the entire world, and all electricity is like wiped out.
Mm,
And then there's like two fractions, so it's like a group of heroes have like this safe haven, but Apocalypse also has like his own
mm,
captured heroes that he's using Purple Man to like mind control.
mm,
So that's I'm reading that. I'm super behind on the Avengers
mm.
because they're like
Yeah.
way ahead. Um, and then I gotta go back to Eternals and I gotta finish up Star Wars and stuff too. But
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there,
yeah,
and even like, and I hope no one thinks that like even for us like we're on top of all this shit. Like I sometimes I go into the Marvel Unlimited stuff when I want to just start something new, and I start looking for stuff, and then a minute in, I'm like, this is too much. I'll just I'll I'll come back a different day.
yeah.
I
So
and I think I told you I found this guy on Reddit like last month, and he had like this full list of every comic that was on
oh
Marvel
yeah,
Unlimited. So yeah, I have been using it to keep track of what I've read so far. But now what I do is that when I can't think of what I want to read next, I just I find a random number generator on Google. I just put in the numbers of how many comics are on there, and I just let that pick, and then whatever it lands on, I just start there.
you should make that a TikTok series.
Yeah, content, baby. I might try that. I've been inching towards wanting to do like a
Same.
TikTok video, and I'm like, I can't get
I'll
myself
get
to do
like
it.
an idea and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it this way, I'll do it
Yeah.
this way, and then I was like, but then I have to record myself and put it out there. So
I was thinking with everybody knows at this point, I've been watching every animated Marvel show,
mm,
like the every one that there is, and I was thinking, let me start putting it on like the shows that I've watched on TikTok, and like, oh, I watched this, and this. But then I was like, oh, I can't do that until I actually finish everything because I can't start a list and then something ends up being worse than that.
yeah,
So, but then I was like, I also wanted to do a YouTube video of it all when I was done. So I think I'm thinking about doing the YouTube video and then splicing that and then putting that onto TikTok. But I don't know how well like clips of other things do on TikTok.
well, I mean,
But I that might be a good idea for me to like get a jump on it and like do like the whole random number generator thing.
yeah, because I mean, even if you don't finish all of them first, you can
Mm,
still do like, okay, I have this in number one ranking and
yeah,
two, and then okay, now I finished this show, now I'm going to put it in number two, and
yeah. I should have started that. I should have started the TikTok part of it when I first started.
mm,
Like, okay, like this is my number one show, and I move it like here.
yeah,
Yeah, but I am gonna go back and watch X-Men the animated series now that they fixed the order of it.
yeah. I think I'll go back and finish that too.
Yeah,
I want to go through X-Men Evolution again too.
that was good.
Yeah,
It was good. It's still kind of like it's not really in the middle of the pack of the shows for me, but because there's so many of them, it kind of falls there. But it was a good show.
I
I
mean,
like it better than Wolverine and the X-Men.
when there's so many shows, it's like the middle isn't bad,
No,
because you kind of have to space it out everywhere. So
no, you can only have 10 in the top 10. So.
yeah,
let's let's see. Shall we start the story before I die in this chair? Anthony Mackie. Okay, are you ready to start this?
ready.
Okay, so today, for those of you that have been with us for a bit, you may know that we did a story one time called Days of Future Past. That was a pure X-Men story. Kitty Pryde went to the future, or she came from the future to the past.
Mm-hmm. Here's her
And
mind.
yeah,
Yeah,
Days of Future Past. I don't remember exactly everything that happened there.
right. She came from. Or were we just following her in the future?
I know there's a future her. Days of Future Past.
I think we were following her in the future, and then like I know a few of them died on the way to the.
But was she? I don't remember. So today, that was Days of Future Past. Today we're doing Days of Future Present.
And then we'll do Days of Future.
Yeah. And then we'll do Nights of Future Past. And that's when it really starts to kick up. So this story happens over 4 annual issues. Um, so I've told you guys this before, but this is probably early on. Annuals are kind of big stories that happen once a year. They don't typically affect the main story. If it's a Fantastic Four annual, it typically doesn't
It'll
affect
be
the
like
main
its
story.
own little thing.
Yeah. Or sometimes what happens is that they'll be in the middle of a storyline and then the annual will come out and then they'll go back to the storyline.
Typically, also they're written. They might get like a different like
A creative
writer,
team.
yeah, creator
Yeah.
team on there. Just and sometimes they'll like hint at what's to come and like some other stuff.
So the first one that this is why it might make sense when I was confused in the beginning of the story whether the Fantastic Four story or X-Men. So the first annual that we read was Fantastic Four annual number 3 or 23. And then we go to the X Factor annual number 6. And then we go to the New Mutants annual number 5. And then X-Men annual number 14. So I guess we could stick with it being an X-Men story
Yeah, I would say yeah, it's a mutant
or a
story.
mutant story because yeah, we'll stick with it being a mutant story because the main person in the story isn't Kitty Pryde like in Days of Future Past. It's Franklin Richards.
Oh, the Fant.
of Fantastic
Yeah.
Four family, um, who is just ridiculously overpowered, even for being a kid at this point. Um, and I was reading into him after because I still don't know. Like I'm not an encyclopedia on any of this shit, so I still have to look up a lot and like figure out people's stories. This guy's nuts. He's
Yeah.
like he made Galactus's herald at one point.
Yeah.
What?
What's
Go.
What's crazy is like, yeah, your parents are like geniuses,
Mhm.
but your dad has the ability to stretch, and your mom can turn invisible,
Yeah.
and you're born with damn near omnipotent powers. Like,
Like where did that come from?
I would be scared if you were my kid.
Yeah. That's like you gotta sit over there. You eat dinner at that table. While the rest of us sit here.
He just makes his dinner appear out of nowhere.
Yeah. He has the even in the story he has the ability to alter reality.
Yeah.
Like no,
How are you just not?
that kid would get away with anything he wanted to ever. Franklin punched me in the eye. What are you talking about? No, I didn't. You punched yourself in the eye. All of a sudden, the security cameras show the kid punching himself in the eye. Nah, he could do whatever he wants in his house, outside the house. Keep him away from me and my family. All right, let's get started. It's a quick one. It's 4 issues. Granted, they're all annuals, so annuals are usually pretty long. But each of these annuals kind of has 3 separate stories within it. But we're not reading all of those. Just the stuff that pertains to this story. So the first one was Fantastic Four Annual number 3. We start with the Fantastic Four coming home from a picnic that they all had with Franklin, who is Reed and Sue's son. When they get home, they're all kind of thrown off, and they find that their home, which is now a place called Four Freedoms Plaza, um, isn't there anymore. It's been switched out with their old building, the Baxter building. And they only went to a picnic for a couple hours, so that's weird. They hesitate to go in, but of course they decide to anyways. And it looks like the building is a Baxter building. It looks exactly how it used to. The stones are still like they lived there for years. They know exactly what everything looked like, and this building looks exactly like it did before they tore it down. Even the old doorman is still at the door, just waiting for them, even though he retired a few years ago. So things are really off right now.
Interesting.
Yeah. And since they seemingly jumped into the past at this point, or at least that's the way it looks, they can't access the building because their new keys don't work on the old doors. Luckily, Sue, for some reason, kept her old holographic key belt or whatever that she used to get into the old building. For some reason, she still kept that, still wears it to this day, and that's what unlocks the doors to get them in. So they start making their way upstairs. The doorman, his name is O'Houlihan. He's staring at them because he's like something's off. It's like what the hell is going on with these guys? He's confused because none of the team members looked the way that they did like in his head the day before.
So
Um,
he's remembering them from how they looked before, because it was only like a day before
yeah,
for him, but for them it's been.
it's been years. Um, yeah, like Sue used to have like the little swooped haircut.
Mm,
Now she's got the nice little '80s frizz going on. And in this story, the team consists of the usual. It's Reed, Johnny, Sue, but it's She Thing and Ben Grimm in his human
mm.
form. I forgot how Ben went back to his human form, but She Thing is actually was previously before this story, like a year or so before, she was actually Miss Marvel,
Mm.
and her name's Sharon Ventura, and but now O'Houlihan's staring at them like why is Mr. Grimm wearing like a top all of a sudden? Like when he usually is just wearing just his pants. And that guy is standing next to him looks a lot like Mr. Grimm, but he's a human, and he can't just switch back and forth. So it's like, oh, Houlihan's sitting there, like, what the fuck is going on? So the team makes their way up, and as soon as they reach their home, they get attacked by like the old security system there because it doesn't recognize who these people are.
That's weird. It should still recognize.
It should. Maybe it'll share and they'll threw it all off. But they
Oh, bitch.
hey, man, get out of here. So they end up overcoming the security system. But as this happened, Franklin. So they're throwing blows, knocking out the security system, punching shit. They're doing all this, and Franklin is still in Sue's arms. He's just like a young, like toddler Franklin at this point, right? His mom's just holding him tight, knocking out security systems left and right. But he starts when all of this is done, he starts getting like really upset. He's screaming at his family. He's like, "Stop, stop!" He's like, something weird is happening in this building, as if nobody noticed this already. And then seconds later, the Fantastic Four from the past, from this actual time that they're in, shows up, and they're like, "Who the hell are these people?" So they start trying to kill the the new Fantastic Four. And then after they end up fighting back and forth for a while, and then they end up stopping when Franklin starts losing it again, and the old Reed decides that he wants to start running tests on the new Fantastic Four to figure out if they're clones of them or if they're actually them. Because of course Reed is gonna think like, no, it's possible that that actually is me.
Yeah.
So he wants to run tests on everybody, and now at this point in the room, everybody except for the two Reeds is completely confused on what's going on. Nobody knows how this is even possible. that they could be the same people, and then that old Reed runs a test and then figures out that like there's no way that they could be clones. Like that's actually us from the future. Like same fingerprints, same blood, everything. So to add to the confusion, the old Sue that's there calls out for their son Franklin, and then when the door opens up, this grown adult Franklin comes walking through the door, and now everybody's confused tenfold here. If nobody, it doesn't make sense to anybody. But the old Sue, still calls him son, and he says, "No, my mom is the lady that you have over there. Like the new Sue is my mom. I don't know who you are." Is this confusing? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And
You
it's
should
gonna.
call. You should call them like Franklin 1 or Reed 1 or Reed 2 or.
I don't even know which one is which. Which one's one and which one's two? Is the one that started the story Reed 1, or is the old Reed number
Or
one?
80s Reed, 70s Reed, or.
Okay, we'll do that. So so early 80s, we'll say 70s too.
Okay.
It's that's just I don't know if that's the actual time frame because Franklin is a toddler at this point, so it can't be too far back.
Mm.
But we'll call her 70s Sue. So yeah, 70s Sue called out to the grown Franklin and says, "Oh, son, come here." And then adult Franklin is like, "No, my mom is the 80s Sue that you guys have over there doing tests on. Like, I don't know who you are, 70s Sue." And so the new Sue, the 80s Sue, tries to explain the situation to him, and which only makes him and everybody reading the story even more confused. Like, the way she explains everything does not help the story whatsoever. So, young Franklin starts yelling at everybody again, and he says, "No, I'm the real Franklin, not this weirdo adult guy that's over here." And then that pisses off adult Frank, and adult Franklin just runs off. But when he does, he just runs out of the window and just disappears. Right? But when he does that, this whole illusion of this being the Baxter building, it just disappears, and all of a sudden the old '70s Fantastic Four disappears as well.
Whole lot of
Yeah.
weirdness going on here.
Imagine having to read all this shit at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, the Baxter building and the old Fantastic Four just completely disappear. When the regular Fantastic Four realizes what's happening, Reed soon finds out that Four Freedoms Plaza is covered in a force field, and none of them can escape the building now. And so we cut over to Britain in the UK, and we see the Phoenix, who is Rachel Summers, the future daughter of Scott Cyclops and Jean Grey. We see the Phoenix, and she's now in present time, and we see her there with her teammates on. She's a part of the Excalibur team.
Mm.
She's there with her teammate Megan, and she starts getting these sharp pains in her body. It makes her fall to the ground to her knees. She's in like horrible pain, and then she just kind of like picks herself back up, like brushes herself off, and she tells Megan like, "Hey, I gotta go." And Megan's like, "No, you need help. Let me help you." She's like, "Nope, bye." She uses her Phoenix powers and just flies off. And then we make our way back to New York, and X-Men members Forge and Banshee are just out having having some personal time. They're taking a mental health day from the rest of the X-Men, and when suddenly they're confronted by the adult Franklin, he recognizes them as his old teachers, but he starts to lose his shit when he notices that they're a lot younger than they were when he originally met them. And this guy does not just like we talked in the last episode. Adult Franklin does not like change whatsoever. So he gets super pissed off. Forge is like staring at him, understandably confused, because he just saw Franklin, whom he saw die in the future.
So Forge saw Franklin die in the future.
Yes, and now he's seeing Franklin in front of him again, alive.
When did he see him die in previous like issue of something?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So adult Franklin got pissed off. He just disappears again.
Why is he getting mad?
I don't know. He doesn't like change. I told you. So, like I said, Forge is understandably confused, and he's like, "Oh, we should probably go talk to Reed about this." So him, and Banshee head over to Four Freedoms Plaza to talk to Reed, and then we jump to the future. Adult Franklin's actual time where he lives or where he's from, and we see a man named Ahab being woken up by his computers, showing him exactly where Franklin escaped to. And he gathers his troops and he says, "Let's head out. We're going to go find Franklin Richards, and we're going to kill this guy." And then we jump back in time again. So now we're at Four Freedoms Plaza. Reed concludes that adult Franklin must be a manifestation of young Franklin's mutant powers. And he decides, for some reason, Reed decides that they have to remove the mental blocks that were put into Franklin's mind so they can unlock Franklin's full mutant powers, which doesn't seem like this is a good idea. Because if he's already manifesting this adult version of him that, like, kept you guys in the force field in your own building, maybe not give him. Let's not give him all of his powers.
Yeah, he doesn't need full range yet.
No. So then Reed starts working on removing those mental blocks when a portal all of a sudden opens up in his office, and then Franklin and Reed are attacked by these drones, which we can assume came from this guy Ahab. And then when the portal opened up, it cracked the force field around the building, and that happened at the perfect time because Forge and Banshee just made their way to Four Freedoms Plaza, and now they start making their way up so they can talk to Reed about the Franklin that they just saw. Oh, so and after talking to Reed for a little bit, they kind of just figure out that they they'll be able to find adult Franklin by just asking young Franklin where he's at. Or no, he they asked young Franklin, if you were in trouble and you weren't with us, where would you go? So he says, "Oh, I would go to the Powers family house, which is the Power Pack house." So they're like, "Okay, let's let's go check that out." So they get to the Power family house. He is there, and then they convince adult Franklin to go back to Four Freedoms Plaza with them. But then when they start getting close to Four Freedoms Plaza, he sees the X Factor home base, which is the ship called Ship. But that's where they're based. Franklin sees Ship, and for some reason in his head, he knows that that ship shouldn't exist. And then he freaks out and disappears again. so, they were flying in the Fantastic Car back
Mm.
to the building. So after Franklin disappears, Reed just lands the ship, and moments later, he and Forge, I guess because they're both geniuses, decide to build a device to kind of pinpoint Franklin's energy around the city. And very quickly, they detect two of the same signals in different areas, so they split up all the team that's there. And so Ben, in his human form, Forge, and Sharon, they go downtown. They go to downtown New York or wherever to try to find him over there. Johnny, Sue, Reed, and Banshee just kind of go somewhere else, wherever the other ping came up. And then we jump over to the X Factor annual number 6. And so looking up and seeing X Factor's ship, which like I said is the current headquarters for X Factor. Adult Franklin just doesn't like the ship being there, so like I said, he made it disappear. Having noticed the big ship vanish, oh no, so we see after the ship vanished. Luckily, the X Factor team wasn't in the ship; they were down below, just trying to fight
Mm.
some other villain or whatever. But they do look up at the time of the ship disappearing, and they're like, okay, well, that's not supposed to happen. So what the hell's going on here? And now, pretty much all like, so now X Factor is on the hunt for adult Franklin. So the two teams that split up originally uh, meet back at a point where X Factor was under looking up at the ship. So now they all decide that they got to go out and find adult Franklin. And we see that Franklin has made his way to the, the Statue of Liberty, where surprisingly he runs into the one true love from his time, Rachel Summers.
Oh.
And having sorry, having been in the present for a long time now, she's pretty confused by seeing Franklin right in front of her because she also saw him die in their time as well. And when he died at the robotic hands of a pair of sentinels.
Was this Days of Futures Past that he died?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah,
Now that makes
they're from
sense.
that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was killed by sentinels. X Factor and the Fantastic Four finally catch up to Franklin, and Cyclops and Jean are immediately slapped in the face with the reveal of their daughter from the future, and they have a hard time believing that that is actually their daughter. While all of this new info is being shared, Franklin again disappears, and all of a sudden, as soon as he disappears, they're attacked again by Ahab and more of his drones, which he calls hounds. But Rachel's quick enough to repel the attacks. She takes off from the fight, dealing with the pain of her parents not accepting who she is. And now it's the team of the New Mutants show up to this fight and decide to aid. They decide to aid the Fantastic Four and X Factor in their fight against Ahab, eventually causing Ahab to fall back and retreat. After Ahab leaves, Franklin shows up again, So he just didn't want the smoke with Ahab, pretty much. And he notices, so he notices baby Nathan, which is Cyclops. It's his son with Madeline Pryor,
Mm.
and he just knows. In Franklin's head, he knows that baby Nathan doesn't exist in his timeline. So he makes Nathan disappear. And I made sure I put this in my notes, but nobody asked me why these people keep bringing babies to fight. Like, first Sue brought, she's just all holding baby Franklin in her arms while she's fighting the 70s Fantastic Four. And then this dummy Cyclops has Nathan in tow to a fight with the guy who just made your whole ship disappear. Why would you bring your baby to this?
Yeah, that doesn't seem very good parenting.
No. So, I don't know, maybe it's a superhero thing. But now Nathan is gone and Cyclops collapses to the ground. He's pretty hurt at this point. And then we jump over to the New Mutants annual number 5. And now we see that Franklin has made his way to Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. And we come across Cable and the New Mutants. The New Mutants team is Sunspot, Warlock, my favorite, Boom Boom, Richter, Wolfsbane, and Cannonball. And that whole team is instantly attacked by Franklin. And the New Mutants team up. Oh, so Franklin shows up to fight the New Mutants, right?
Mm.
But decides to portal in the New Mutants team from the future to beat up their old selves.
This guy's a menace.
Like, what makes you think of that? Let me bring in your future self to beat you up.
This guy has nothing but trouble for everybody.
Nothing. So yeah, so Franklin decides that he doesn't want in on this fight anymore, and then he just disappears. We cut over to see Banshee, Johnny, Sue, and Reed show up with again a young Franklin in tow, and they're instantly attacked when a portal opens up again, and Ahab and his boys come through. So we see that adult Franklin, or we cut over to adult Franklin, and he decided to make his way for some reason to the American Museum of Natural History. And while he's there, something triggers his memory of sorry, something triggers his memory of a futuristic Sentinel attack, and he loses his mind in this museum. He shoots out this strong blast of energy, and the energy travels from this museum all the way to the Xavier School, and it kills all of the hounds that came through the portal with Ahab. I don't understand how.
So he has PTSD.
Basically, so it kills all of the hounds, and then once Ahab sees all the hounds have been killed, he's like, "Well, this isn't my fight right now, so let me get out of here." And then he goes through the portal and it disappears. Just everybody's disappearing. It's just a magic show. And then we cut over to see young Franklin, and he sees what the adult Franklin is actually capable of at this point, and he decides that he wants to work together with adult Franklin to put more mental blocks in his mind so that he's never able to do this himself. And then, but when they do that, so after Ahab disappeared, when the hounds died, of course adult Franklin shows back up. So that's when they decide, the two of them, that they want to put those mental blocks in young Franklin's mind. So he can never do that. But when they add the mental blocks back in to young Franklin's mind, it puts him in a coma. And then, and of course, what happens next? You guessed it. Adult Franklin says, not my problem. I'm out of here. Disappears again. And then the last issue, we got the X-Men annual number 14.
This guy is literally the worst.
Yeah.
Why do they always do that to people?
I don't know.
People in the comics. They just make them the worst ever.
So So yeah, adult Franklin disappeared after young Franklin fell into the coma, and then now we're in the last issue of the Butterfly. And then we cut over to Rachel Summers. She's just kind of chilling in a diner. She's eating when all of a sudden the diner gets robbed. These people come in with guns. She doesn't even flinch. She just uses her powers. She turns their guns into just like a ball of metal. Whatever they run off,
That'd
nothing
be
happens.
dope. I wish I could do that.
I know.
I wouldn't be scared of nothing.
I'm not afraid of you. Just crumble up somebody's phone.
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Not anymore. The sign says no phones at the counter, remember? Get out of here, Becky. So yeah, she turns the guns into just these piles of metal. When she's done with them, they run off, and then she looks out the window of the diner and she sees somebody that looks really familiar to her, but they're kind of far away, and she can't really see whose face it is clearly. So she walks outside to try to go get a better look. The person's gone, and so then she uses her powers to. She flies up into the sky. At this point, she's still kind of flustered with everything that's happened. Her parents denied her. The Franklin coming back into her life. Things. It's just been a lot. But she has telepathic powers. So, in kind of going through all that anguish, she kind of sends out like this mental cry, and only telepaths around the city can hear it.
Mm.
But I mean, kind of a moot point in the story. It doesn't change anything for her, but that's what happens. So after flying around for a good amount of time, she finds a familiar face, and then she just finds out that it was adult Franklin the whole time, and she still has a hard time believing that it's him, but he says like, no, it's me. Use your powers, scan my mind, scan my thoughts. You can see that I'm telling the truth. So she does that. She realizes that it is actually him, and then they kiss right there, and then they just go on later. But they spend hours together doing whatever. It doesn't show that part. So later on at the Four Freedoms Plaza, Rachel and Franklin show up, and they meet with the X Factor team that's there with the Fantastic Four, and they just look at everybody and they tell everyone, "Oh, we're gonna start a new life together," and everyone just kind of like looking at them like, man, what are you what are you talking about?
Who are you?
Like what the fuck is wrong with you guys? The last time we saw you guys, you made Cyclops' son disappear. We also don't know where young Franklin is. And then you made the X Factor ship just disappear. Like, you guys can't just go start a new life after you've ruined everything else around here. Where is everything?
Yeah, this is like peak not taking responsibility for any of the things you've caused.
Yeah, you're just like, oh no, it's like not
We're
that
gonna
big of
go
a
have
deal.
a happy life together.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about your life right now. Where's my kid at? And then, so I so we've had some I guess scheduling conflicts with this podcast lately. So I had to jump a little bit ahead
Mm,
on this event. So this story is from like 1990 or something.
okay.
This happens after the events of the Mutant Massacre, the Fall of the Mutants, Inferno, all stories that heavily include Cyclops and Madeline Pryor and their son. So you don't get the full gist of how shitty Cyclops feels right now, but this man went through it trying to get his son back for a really long, like a year, trying to get his son back from demon dimensions, from almost dying like 5 times, and then for his son to just disappear on him in front of his face. Like, this man's, he might not make it out of this. So he's going through it. But as they're all asking their questions, trying to figure out what the hell's going on, Franklin uses his powers to just make everybody shut up and stop asking questions. And of course, Franklin and Rachel take off. And then while the teams all sit there together to try to work on a way to try to work on a way to deal with Franklin's abilities to alter reality, however he sees fit, they just spend some time trying to work as a big ass team to try to figure this whole thing out. Back at the X Mansion, Forge is there helping clean up the school after it went through the whole fight when Franklin showed up, and then Gambit and Storm get there, and Forge says, "Hey, we could really use your help over at Four Freedoms Plaza." So the three of them just dip over there. Back at the plaza, Cyclops and Sue are just kind of, they both lost their kids at this point.
My question is, what is Gambit and Rogue gonna do? Like, this doesn't seem like a muscle type
I don't think
problem.
this is a muscle thing. I don't think this is a weather issue. I don't think that Storm's gonna have any kind of fight here.
This just
And
seems like more brains than anything.
yeah, I feel like if Forge was at the X Mansion, and out of anybody that was there, I would say maybe call Cable and say, "Hey, you might be able to help with this."
Yeah.
But the other two, I don't think so. But yeah, so oh yeah, like I was saying, Cyclops and Sue are just kind of sitting in one of the back rooms together. They both lost their children at this point. They don't know where they're at, and all of a sudden a portal opens up. And this time, when the portal opens up, Sentinels come through, and they start shooting at the both of them. They both get hit by the Sentinels. They don't die, but they're hurt pretty bad. Ahab comes walking through the portal behind the Sentinels, slowly, like he already won the fight. And then downstairs, the X Factor, the New Mutants, and the Fantastic Four collectively decide that they need to find, they need to find Rachel to save her from Franklin. And they think once they get Rachel away from Franklin, that might be their opening to kind of beat Franklin.
Mm.
And what they're not paying attention to is that meanwhile upstairs, Ahab has captured Cyclops and Sue, and he's somehow turned them into one of his hounds. And he sent the two of them off into the world to go find Franklin and Rachel. And not even not even minutes later, the two Sue and Cyclops find Franklin just out in the park. And uh, so it's Franklin, Rachel, and Nathan Summers are in the park. So after trying to fight their way out of the situation, Ahab traps all three of them, Franklin, Rachel, and Nathan, captures all three of them, ties them up, and then takes them back to Four Freedoms Plaza. When Ahab returns, the rest of the heroes are all now well aware of the fact that Sue, Cyclops are missing, uh, and they see Ahab come back with now the two hounds and the three of the people that they were looking for. So they go in, they start attacking. The heroes fight off the hounds, all of the hounds that came through, including Cyclops and Sue. Cable does show up himself, and he tries to go in and attack Ahab, thinking that he could be the one that beats him. But when he gets close enough to see his face, he's shocked. When Cable gets close enough to see Ahab's face, he's completely shocked. He just goes stiff as a statue. And then Ahab asks Cable if, "Oh, do I look familiar?" And Cable's just still kind of standing there like what the hell? And then Ahab smacks the shit out of him, knocks him to the ground. And all of a sudden, and then Ahab just activates this energy field on the floor. It somehow incapacitates all of the mutants in the building. Don't ask me. I don't. But for some reason, the energy field doesn't work on Franklin, and he starts attacking the Sentinels. He takes them out. He takes out the Hounds. Ahab tries to just say, "Well, no, all my people are getting knocked out. Let me get out of here."
Oh, bitch.
So, and he tells Rachel, like Ahab tells Rachel, "Come with me." Obviously, she says no. So he tries to throw like a harpoon at her to kill her. And at this point, Jean
Such a random ass like weapon.
just looks in his pocket like, "Oh, what do I have? Oh, cool, harpoon."
Pocket harpoon.
As he throws it, it expands. So at this point, when he throws a harpoon, and at this point, Jean has kind of grown on the idea that Rachel is possibly her daughter. So she tries to use her powers to stop the harpoon from hitting her, and realizes that she she just can't. So what she does is she tries to jump in front of the harpoon instead.
How do you have that much reaction
I think
time?
she was. I'm assuming Ahab was kind of far off when he threw it, and then she puts the fingers to the temples like, oh, okay, no, it's not working. And the harpoon does hit Jean, but it hits her in a on her arm or something. So it's like it's not deadly. She's okay. Um, and Ahab is pissed at this point because he didn't get the kill that he thought he was going to, and he yells, "I'll be back," and then just vanishes again. So now that he's gone, Reed is trying to help the rest of the teams heal their wounds using all of his fancy machines. And adult Franklin is just kind of standing there, and he suddenly realizes that this whole time, I don't know how he came to this conclusion. Don't ask me. But he comes to the conclusion that he's been a memory that young Franklin made up, and that is why young Franklin is in a coma because adult Franklin is still here.
What?
Yeah. So
They were in the same room together.
exactly. That's why it doesn't make any sense. So adult Franklin steps into one of the leftover machines that Ahab had left behind, and all of a sudden he just disappears again. Suddenly, when he disappears, uh, Rachel, I guess some of her powers were being concealed while he was here as well. So she has all of her powers back. And young Franklin wakes up from his coma. Rachel doesn't want to, still doesn't realize that Jean is kind of come around to all this, to her being her daughter at this point. So Rachel just kind of takes off without saying anything, no goodbyes, nothing, just sneaks out the window and goes. And the rest of their team just give their hugs, say their goodbyes, go their separate ways, and then that was it. Did any of it make sense?
No, I'm gonna tell you right now, I didn't like it.
I didn't either. I'm going straight here.
I said forget about it, cuz.
Exactly that. I'm giving
I
it
said
two.
forget about it, cuz.
I hope I forget about it.
That I didn't like it. I didn't like Franklin became like this weird like psycho,
Yeah.
and then he ended up not being Franklin.
It was just a made up memory the whole time.
Yeah,
Not a fan.
it's a no go for me.
I said forget about it, cuz.
Not good. Not good at all.
But what did you guys think?
Yeah, tell us what you guys think. Read it on your own. Marvel Unlimited is out there. I think you could probably get this as a trade paperback too on Amazon.
Probably.
Um,
I would say don't waste your money on it though.
no, unless you can get it for free or some shit like that.
Just get a Marvel Unlimited.
Get the fuck out of here, man.
It's
Sorry.
a Marvel Unlimited app. Was it like $10-15 a month?
It's like $8.99 or $9.99 a month.
Yeah.
If you get Marvel Unlimited for 1 month and you pay that $9.99 just to read this, please, I beg you, read a million other things so
Yeah.
you get your money's worth.
Yeah.
Because this is it's not worth the $9.99. Not worth it at all. Please don't do that.
Don't do it.
You know what?
I said forget about it, cuz.
That was just bad. And I read all of that at like 1 o'clock last night.
Damn.
I was pissed. But the thing is, like, I finished everything at like 2 o'clock, right? At that time of day, after you've been up for so long, things don't sound that bad. But then it's like, I think that's why they say for you to, like, no matter what you're writing, read it out loud before you, like, submit it or, like,
Yeah.
before you go on to the next draft. Because I think had I read this last night, I probably wouldn't have come here with it. Because this was bad. But, yeah, I'm just going to get straight to it, man. I don't even want to stick around and keep talking about it. It was bad.
We'll let everybody go.
Yeah.
Remember, take some time to yourself. Enjoy your mental health.
Yeah, if you really are honestly working on your mental health, don't start with this story. Please don't. It's not going to help you.
Literally do anything else.
Do anything else. Go outside and lay in the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything.
Dip your feet in the pool or something.
Call your grandma, call your mom, call your dad, your brother, your sister, something.
Just do anything besides read this.
Yeah. I might start a section on the website. Just do not recommend. all the stories you should stay away from. I read it so you don't have to. But yeah, same as always. Give us a share, give us a like, tell your friends, your family about it, and yeah, just don't let anybody start on this episode, please.
All right, guys.
Peace.
We will talk to you later. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.